Hey, Moonlovers. Welcome to the 60th episode of All Things Moon, Lunar Wisdom for Everyday Life with myself, Kelly Jones. This is take two. I got interrupted by a delivery. Some new flyers came through the door. So that's what was occurring there. And if any of you have been following me from the beginning, you'll know that I have been through a major tech journey to get here. So I'm super proud of myself that I have managed to make it to 60 episodes. And also at the beginning, I was having to hand in a copy of my episode each week, like giving in homework every Sunday night because it went out live on a radio station, which sadly that radio station is no longer, but it was a friend who had a radio show and they used to play my podcast every week and I used to have to hand it in. And that's really good for me because if you listen to the last episode, you'll know that I'm not very disciplined, a little inconsistent, and that really kept me consistent. And so when that radio show came to an end, I was super worried that I wouldn't keep this up. And to be fair, I haven't been as quite as consistent as if I had to hand it into somebody. But if anyone out there does have a show where you would like to pop my podcast on each week for me, then that would be super good for me because it would make me much more consistent. But anyway, I've made it this far and I congratulate myself and thank you to anybody who has been traveling with me on this super journey. And talking of super things, we have a full supermoon in Aries coming right up. So I do believe we are on the 2nd of October today. It's Thursday the 2nd. Also in between pop coming on to record this and then switching off and starting again, I realized that I was supposed to be somewhere else today. So a little discombobulated again because my thoughts are going to like this slightly little place of worry and anxiety over an appointment that I was supposed to be at, which I'm now not at, and trying to let go of that, Virgo perfectionist feeling of I've got something wrong, I've done something wrong. But anyway, that's what all this practice is for. So this full supermoon is in the sign of Aries. It's on the 6th of October at 14 degrees of Aries, which means the sun will be at 14 degrees of Libra. So when the moon is full, it's always opposite where the sun is. So we have the sun traveling through Libra at the moment. We're still in Libra season. And when the moon is opposite the sun, it is fully illuminated. So fully illuminating what it is that we need to see. And this is a supermoon, which doesn't really make any difference astrologically. But from the perspective of us being on Earth, it means that the moon as an object is closer to us in the Earth. So therefore, maybe we are experiencing the energy of the moon more strongly. So that's why it's called a super moon. So this full moon is very strong because of that, because it's closer, and it's clear because there are minimal aspects to the moon. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't other aspects going on which affect the whole energy of the moment. Some of which, if you listen to the last podcast, which I recorded yesterday, about Mars being in Scorpio and Venus being on the South Node in Virgo, then we know that we do have these other energies playing out, not to mention all the outer planets that are still retrograde, which, go back a few podcasts and listen to all of that because that's still all ongoing. It hasn't all gone away. It just isn't the biggest player of what we need to talk about this week. And, we don't want to be fixated on these things all the time. We need to get on with our everyday life. So, in simplistic terms, the moon being in Aries and the sun being in Libra is basically self versus others. Aries is I am, and Libra is everybody else. um, in more complex terms, these two opposing forces can represent independence and interdependence. Yeah, if we want to look into that more deeply. So really, Aries' relationship with self and Libra is relationship with others. So this full moon being at the tail end of the eclipse season is going to help us wrap up any unfinished business that the eclipses have brought up to be cleared out. So after I do this, I am going to clear out the pantry. So that's not what subjects have been brought up, but remembering, if you've been listening, that these eclipses have brought up the subjects of career and home for me. So the appointment I was supposed to be at today is to do with my career. So to help myself clear that out of my mind, I'm going to do something where I'm clearing out something from my home this afternoon, a job that's much needed doing in this sort of post-eclipse, Virgo eclipse clear out, because Virgos love to clear stuff out and reorganize things. So Aries. Aries is where we express I am. Aries is the fire starter. It is a fire sign. It's a cardinal sign, an initiator, a fire starter. Quite often headstrong, passionate, wants to go first, go leaping in, often a pioneer. The moon is our inner world, our emotional world, water world. It's the water sign, the ruler of Cancer. So the actual rulership of Aries is Mars, and we know that Mars is in the sign of Scorpio. So we have quite a lot of deep emotional waters influencing this full moon. Our fears are represented by the moon, our sensitivities. It's sentimental, it's memories, it's the unconscious yin, feminine intuition. It's our ability to birth, to rebirth, to become. The moon represents mothers, women who rule the physical body, nurturing, Cancerian nurturing, rest, relaxation, all of that underlying unconscious intuitive stuff. So when the moon reaches her fullness, she becomes a mirror for what we need to see and what we need to release and to shed. So full moons are always a good time to do forgiveness, which reminds me that the oracle cards that I shared with you, the Inner Temple, Rebecca Campbell's new oracle card deck, the card that has come out more than once for me, or cards, are the Chamber of Forgiveness and the Chamber of Surrender. And I've still got them on my desk here. And we will pull a card later and I'll pop these back in the deck and we'll see what comes out. But Chamber of Forgiveness, full moons are a time for forgiving. A full moon in Aries is very much about forgiving yourself. But also it might be about forgiving others with that opposition to the sun in Libra, and that Chamber of Surrender. So surrendering what we need to release back to the divine. It's about what we need to throw onto the fire so that we can rise from the ashes like the phoenix. That is that Mars in Scorpio energy of transformation, with this full moon shedding and releasing and forgiving and surrendering to the divine. That moon in Aries and what that really suggests to me is that that focus on working on ourselves helps us with our relationship with others. Yeah. The moon is our emotional body. Where have you stored all the emotion in your body? Because of this eclipse that we've just had in Virgo, and Cancerians being ones to store emotions in their digestive system, because the moon is a ruler of Cancer, with this emotional body feeling, with that Virgo energy that we've got right now, with Venus still being on the south node in the sign of Virgo, I'm really feeling like our digestive systems may be out of whack. So, paying attention to where we are storing that emotion in our body is really, really important. So even though this is not a dark moon, new moon time of maybe where we become still and rest, the moon is about rest and relaxation. And even though Aries is very much about action and getting on with things, I still really recommend that on this full moon time, around this time, that you just take a moment to slow down, resist that urge to go steaming in too quickly before you have addressed how you're feeling. Notice where that is coming from. Is it coming from a place of urgency, of anger and frustration? And can we turn that into an energy that we can temper so that we can use it in a clearer way? Full moons help us to become clearer. It's that culmination and clearing point so that we can look forward towards the new moon, the next new moon that's coming up. What do we need to be clearing out in the next couple of weeks before that time? So, our emotions and our body is the messenger. So just sitting and simply noticing how you feel. Notice where the sensations are in your body when those emotions come up. Just take some time to stop and simply notice how you feel. And then, if necessary, move your body and breathe in a way that switches on your internal safety system. Yeah. So coming up on the 11th and 12th of October, I have Astrala Yoga training weekend in London, and I know that by the end of that weekend, I will be in complete rest and digest. And being in a room of people where you are all coming into that state, there's nothing like being in a big group of people who feel safe. We want to feel the fire of passion in our bellies to drive us forwards, but we don't want it to be built on that acidic bitterness, that's burning our soul. We want to clear that out. We want to purify that with that Virgo energy. Release any rage that you might be feeling in a healthy way through dance, through your voice, through journaling, but not through blaming. I, for one, have been carrying quite a lot of sort of resentment inside me recently, and I know that that is not good. I actually experience some of that sort of burning sensation, and that to me is a sign that I am carrying that in my body. So keeping that chamber of forgiveness message, the chamber of surrender message on my altar, being aware of those feelings in my body is allowing me to sit with it and work out, how can I use this in a positive way to motivate me to do what I need to do what I want to do, but without it being in retaliation. using that as a driving force to motivate from a good place. So, remember, with the sun being in Libra, it's really emphasizing our relationships with others at the moment. And Libra wants peace, it wants harmony, it wants balance, which is very difficult to keep up, isn't it? Which is why we have all of these tools available to us. The freest one, the most available one, being our breath, just dropping into our breath. Why do we resist that so much when it is there all the time with us? We need to be in right relationship with ourselves if we are to find peace between us. Can you imagine if the whole world was to work on themselves, what their relationship with each other would be like? So from the point of view of that, there are so many of us out here in the podcast land, on internet land, on social media that are sharing this kind of information, all this advice, all this knowledge, all this wisdom, to help people out there. So first of all, I really, really implore you to help yourself first. And then please, to help others, help me to get this further. Help others by sharing this information with them. By helping yourself, you are showing others and giving others permission to do the same for themselves. This is the ripple effect that I was talking about. Remember when I was talking about sitting by the lake at the equinox retreat, releasing back to the earth that which was no longer serving me, putting the ashes back into the lake, watching the ripple effect from the fish coming up, taking a breath, the sparkles and the ripples and the circles of that continuous. So what we are is rippling out. So to help you with that, to celebrate this 60th episode, just for 1 week only. Now, you don't have to book an appointment in the next week because I'm not sure I could accommodate that anyway. But for the next week, if you purchase a personal birth chart reading with me, I am giving you £51.11 off so that you can get a personal birth chart reading for just £60 for yourself. Buy it for a gift for someone else. Buy two whilst it's going this cheap and give it as a Christmas present to somebody, a birthday present. I really don't mind. You can buy it now and use it later. Just message me and we can work it out. You can buy it as a gift voucher if you want to. Okay. So that is to celebrate, and that is literally that will end on the 11th of October. So back to the point in hand. So if you have any planets in the cardinal sign of Aries, Libra, Cancer, or Capricorn, you will feel this full moon more strongly. You might feel the need to sort of assert yourself a little bit more, assert your boundaries. That's a really good thing. Or be able to make more decisions with more clarity. Relationship issues that have been sort of loitering in the background in the past few weeks will probably come to the forefront at this time. Those of you that know me know that is, at the forefront for me. And I have actually personally, taken it. I've had this week to myself here at home, and it has enabled me. Not at first, the first day was really difficult, but as time's gone on, I've been able to redirect my focus and attention and my emotions back to me, back to, what do I want? What do I desire? That Venus energy, Venus on the South Node in Virgo. It's a time at the moment we really are being called to bring things up, to speak our truth, to share our feelings, to be honest. But most of all, this moon is about having courage to do that, to do what you need to do. You know, I've been able to shift my thoughts back towards what I want. And I have had more than one messenger on my path recently that has said to me, you know, just concentrate on what you want. What do you want? So if we've been sort of forced to be more outward and concerned with other people's needs, that Libra, then this Aries moon is bringing us back and reminding us that we matter, you know, that our needs matter, you know, to honor our own desires and wants and needs. You know, so we really need to, even if we need to do it alone, we need to have the courage to do that so that we can go and reclaim sovereignty over our own lives and what we want for ourselves. Just a couple of things to note that I've talked about Mars being in Scorpio. As this full moon arrives, Mercury moves into Scorpio as well and immediately forms a square to Pluto where Mars was. So we've had a Mars square to Pluto. We're now going to have Mercury square to Pluto. With Mercury and Mars being in the sign of Scorpio, and to add to boot, Black Moon Lilith is still in the sign of Scorpio where she's been since March. You know, that really could mean angry communication, you know, very sudden, impulsive, angry communication, that power struggle thing again with Pluto in Aquarius there. But if we use it to its full advantage, then it will give us the opportunity to know the power of our thoughts, of our minds, to know what power we have with that, to have power over our thoughts and our minds. You know, it could bring up very intense conversations. You know, it might bring stuff to the surface, information to the surface, communications to the surface. But being in Scorpio, it's very much about looking beneath the surface. Yeah, examining the deeper meaning of things. We might find that people that didn't even normally question things will be looking a little further into things than they have done before, which would be amazing for the world situation that we're in. Okay, so just remember that Venus is still conjunct that karmic south node. So what revelations have you had around patterns that you've realized? You know, I realizing that Venus, as she's just slightly moving away from that conjunction, is going to be over my Pluto. So transformation is unavoidable for me in the area of career and relationships. That Black Moon Lilith, Mars in Scorpio, the uncovering of hidden truths, particularly in relationships around power, really, really about doing that shadow work and reclaiming our personal power through that shadow work. Yeah. Okay. So basically, whatever this means for us all individually or collectively, is most certainly asking us to find the courage to take the leap of faith, even if we cannot see what's next. Okay, so if you want to know what house this is all falling in for you, then remember I am offering a personal birth chart reading for just £60 for this next week. So please take full advantage of that. And then you can find out, you can do a really, really deep dive into your own chart. We look at every planet aspect in there for you. And particularly that sun, moon and rising. And then we go from there and we're going to see where Mars is for you and where Venus is for you. If you don't want to sign up for that, then in the show notes will be The place to sign up for the full moon ceremony, which will be on the 6th of October. I can't do the 7th of October, that's a Tuesday, and I will be teaching a yoga and Pilates class that evening. So it'll be on the Monday, the 6th, where we will do some journaling together, and we'll do a much deeper dive into the meaning of everything and look at the crystals and herbs that are supportive. We'll do some journaling prompts, some oracle cards, etc. So I thought we would just wrap up with a card for you. So I'm going to pop this Chamber of Forgiveness card and the Chamber of Surrender cards back in the deck, and then have a good shuffle. I didn't need to have a good shuffle. The card that has come out for us, I saw that jump out there, came out this way up. For those of you that are just listening to audio, the card that's come out is Inner Winter on one side of the card, and at the top of the card is Inner Summer. So we've got like this blue wintry image at the bottom, and then a yellow summery image at the top, so the opposites of each other. But it has come out with the winter being right side up. So inner winter, inner summer. Let's have a look to see what that means for us all. So this is a polarity card. A full moon is a polarity between the sun and the moon meaning the darkness of winter, and the sun meaning the warmth of summer. And it's page 122 in here. Lots of 22s this week. Inner winter is initiation, rebirth, renewal, rest, going underground, seeing what's underneath it all, the fertile void. Surrender, there we go, there's that word again, mystery, unknowing, death. The end is also the beginning. We just can't get away from that, can we? Union. It feels like nothing will ever grow again. A yearning for rest and quiet. So, the journaling prompt for inner winter is: how are you being called to slow down? What new seeds are you being called to nurture? How are you being called to rest? And what does the wise part of you want to know? Now, you're not going to know what that wise part of you wants to know unless you slow down and rest and simply notice how you feel. Okay. I'm going to wrap things up there. Please message me. Please share. Please subscribe. Please send me your stories. Please contact me and let me know how all of this is going for you. Full moon blessings to you all, and I'll see you all next week.